In the quiet hours of the night, when your thoughts drift like slow-moving clouds, the universe reveals a different side of itself. Not the bright, blazing cosmos you see in textbooks or telescope images, but a softer, stranger universe built from riddles. Some of these mysteries can be measured, some can be guessed, but others sit so deep within the fabric of existence that even the greatest minds can only circle them, like moths drifting around a flame they can never touch. Tonight, we begin a journey into those unsolved places, those corners of physics where answers dissolve the moment you get close, where reality behaves less like a machine and more like a whisper. So settle in. Let the world outside fade. Let curiosity slow your breathing. And let's step gently into the dark, where the universe keeps its secrets. One of the first mysteries we meet is something deceptively simple. Why does anything act like both a wave and a particle? For over a century, physicists have known that the tiniest pieces of reality, photons, electrons, protons, behave in two completely incompatible ways. Sometimes they act like tiny dots, individual bullets of energy. Other times they stretch out like ripples on a pond, spreading softly through space, and somehow, impossibly, they are both at once. If you ask how this is possible, the universe answers with silence. A beam of light, sent through two narrow slits, creates an interference pattern only waves should make. But if you try to watch which slit the photon actually passes through, the pattern disappears. The photon suddenly behaves like a particle again, choosing a single path, as if embarrassed to be caught in the act of wavering. Observing it changes what it is. This is known as the double-slit mystery. But the truth is that even the word mystery feels too small. It is more like a portal, a hole in our understanding through which we glimpse a reality shaped by rules we were never built to see. Every explanation we invent collapses as quickly as it forms. No metaphor is good enough. No story quite captures it. We live inside the effect of quantum duality, but we do not understand the cause. Another mystery waits nearby, like a soft echo of the first. Why does observation change reality? In everyday life, looking at something doesn't change what it is. A chair, a tree, a stone, they don't care whether you watch them or not. But in the quantum world, watching is an interaction. Seeing is a disturbance. Measurement is a kind of touch. To observe a particle, you must shine light on it. But the light carries energy, and that energy bumps the particle, blurring its future. The more precisely you try to measure its position, the more uncertain its momentum becomes. This is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, a rule that seems simple in words but impossible in meaning. Does the particle have no exact position, or does nature simply refuse to tell us? Is uncertainty a flaw of knowledge, or is it the very texture of reality? The universe answers again with silence. And then, deeper still, we find the vacuum, the place where nothing should be. But in quantum physics, the vacuum is never empty. It shivers with invisible motion, a restless sea of particles that appear and disappear too quickly to be seen. This is zero-point energy, the quiet hum of existence itself. Why does the vacuum need to tremble? Why can't it rest? We don't know. We only know that if it ever stopped trembling, atoms would collapse, molecules would unravel, and the universe would fall silent. The vacuum's restlessness is the reason anything at all can exist. Still, we cannot explain why reality demands this baseline vibration. The equations give numbers, but not meaning. They describe the dance, but not the dancer. And then, just when you think the mysteries cannot get stranger, we meet quantum entangle, the most intimate confusion of all. Take two particles and let them interact. Afterward, no matter how far they drift across a room or across a galaxy, they remain connected. Touch one, and the other responds instantly, as if distance were a rumor and space itself were optional. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. Modern experiments prove it without a doubt. But why does the universe allow such a connection? What binds entangled particles together? Is it communication? Is it unity? Is it a reminder that separation is an illusion? The universe, once again, gives no answer. So we gather these mysteries: wave-particle duality, the role of observation, zero-point trembling, entanglement, and we hold them like broken pieces of a puzzle whose picture we have never seen. They are not mistakes. They are not failures of science. They are glimpses into a deeper layer of reality, one that hums beneath the world we know. As you lie there, letting your breath slow and your thoughts soften, consider this. The universe does not hide these mysteries from us out of cruelty. It simply speaks in a language we are still learning. And maybe, just maybe, the purpose of these riddles is not to be solved, but to remind us of something we forget in the rush of daily life. That existence is far stranger than it appears. That reality is not a closed book. That wonder is not a childish thing, it is the beginning of understanding. Tonight we explored only the edge of the unknown. In the next part, we go deeper toward the dark forces that shape the cosmos, the invisible fields that hold galaxies together, and the haunting question of why the universe expands faster and faster, as though running from something we cannot see. For now, rest with the mystery. Let it cradle your thoughts like gentle waves. The universe is not a problem to solve. It is a story to follow, one unsolved chapter at a time. There is a moment, just before sleep, when your thoughts loosen their grip on the day and begin drifting into deeper waters. In that quiet space, the mind becomes more willing to wonder, and it's in that soft openness that another set of mysteries waits, mysteries not of the tiny quantum world, but of the vast cosmic stage. Last time, we listened to the whispers of particles and the strange rules they follow. Tonight, we lift our gaze outward, into the immensity of the universe itself, where the largest structures obey laws just as perplexing as those that govern the smallest. Let's begin with one of the most haunting questions in modern science. Why is the universe expanding faster and faster, as though pushed by an invisible hand? For centuries, scientists believed the cosmos was like a giant clockwork, steady, predictable, slowing down over time. They assumed gravity, the great gatherer, would eventually pull everything inward. Galaxies would drift together, stars would cluster, and one day, perhaps far beyond our imagining, the universe would stop expanding altogether. But in 1998, astronomers discovered something astonishing. When they measured the light from distant exploding star, supernovae, found that those stars were dimmer than expected, not because they were weaker, but because they were farther away than they should have been. The universe wasn't slowing down, it was speeding up. Something unseen was pushing the galaxies apart, stretching the fabric of space like a gentle but relentless tide. Scientists named this mysterious force dark energy, not because it has anything to do with darkness, but because we know so little about it, a placeholder name for an invisible presence. And the strangest part? Dark energy makes up about 70% of the entire universe. Think about that. Everything we understand, atoms, stars, galaxies, light, matter, energy, all, the familiar pieces add up to less than 5% of the cosmos. The rest is a mystery wearing the mask of emptiness. What is dark energy? Is it the energy of space itself? A property of the vacuum? A pressure woven into the structure of reality? Or something our equations haven't even begun to describe? The universe offers no explanation. It only expands, steadily, silently, in every direction. If dark energy is a mystery of expansion, then dark matter is a mystery of structure, a ghostly framework that holds the cosmos together. When astronomers studied the rotation of galaxies, they expected to find that stars near the edges moved slowly, just as planets in our solar system do. But the stars didn't slow down. They moved far too fast, as though held by invisible glue. If only the visible matter were present, galaxies should fly apart. Something unseen, something massive, was holding them in place. Physicists called this hidden scaffolding dark matter. But despite decades of searching through detectors in mountain caverns, through telescopes scanning the sky, through collisions inside particle accelerators, no one has ever seen a dark matter particle. It does not interact with light. It does not glow, reflect, or block. It passes through stars, planets, even you, without leaving a trace. Yet its gravitational pull shapes galaxies, bends starlight, and sculpts the cosmic web that stretches across the universe. It is everywhere and nowhere, present and absent, a silent architect working in the dark. Why does it exist? What is it made of? And why does it refuse to reveal itself? Again, the universe keeps its secrets close. But perhaps the most profound mystery of all is one so vast, yet so delicate, that it touches everything. Why are the laws of physics so perfectly balanced for life to exist? Every constant of nature, from the charge of the electron to the strength of gravity, sits within an extraordinarily narrow range. If gravity were slightly stronger, stars would collapse too quickly. If it were slightly weaker, they would never ignite. If the balance between matter and antimatter after the Big Bang had been just a little different, the universe would contain nothing but radiation or nothing at all. Even the expansion rate of the universe, shaped by dark energy, had to be exquisitely fine-tuned, a fraction faster, and galaxies would never form, a fraction slower, and the universe would have collapsed before the first stars were born. It is as though the universe walks a tightrope stretched across nothingness, and somehow, impossibly, it never falls. Is this balance an accident, a mathematical necessity, a multiverse selection effect, or something deeper, something we have no language for? We do not know. And then there is time, the quiet companion to all things, the river in which events float. Time moves in one direction. We feel it, measure it, plan our lives around it. Yet physics has no satisfying answer for why time must flow forward. At the level of atoms, time has no built-in direction. The equations work just as well backward as forward. Nothing in the mathematics says that yesterday couldn't become tomorrow. So why can't we unspill milk? Why can't we watch a sunset rise? Why does time march forward with such certainty when the laws of physics do not require it? Some thinkers believe the arrow of time comes from entropy, the universe's gradual slide from order into disorder. But entropy explains the direction, not the origin. The deeper question remains: why did the universe begin in such an impossibly ordered state? Why did everything start so precisely arranged that time could have a direction at all? We have no answer, not even a good guess. As you lie here listening, perhaps with your eyes growing heavier, you might feel something shift in you, a softness, a quiet acceptance that the cosmos is not a problem to solve, but a mystery to accompany. Dark energy expanding, dark matter binding, time flowing, constants balancing, all woven together into a tapestry whose underside we can only glimpse. The universe is vast enough to contain infinite stars, but also vast enough to contain infinite questions, and maybe that is part of its beauty. If everything were known, if every riddle were answered, wonder would fade, and curiosity would fall asleep before you do. So let the unknown cradle you. Let the unanswered sit beside you like an old friend. The night sky has held these secrets for billions of years. It can hold them a little longer while you rest. Next time, we will follow another thread into the question of why the universe exists at all. why there is something rather than nothing, and how the first moment of creation might still echo through every atom of your being. For now, breathe softly, and let mystery be your comfort. The cosmos doesn't rush, neither should you. There is a certain stillness that settles over the world in the late hours of the night, a stillness so deep that even your thoughts seem to soften as they wander through it. In that quiet space, the universe feels closer, as though the walls between your mind and the cosmos thin just enough for questions to drift through. And in this part of our journey, we arrive at one of the oldest, most haunting mysteries of all. Why does the universe exist? Why is there something rather than nothing? It sounds like a simple question, almost childlike in its innocence, but hidden beneath it is a depth so profound that physics, philosophy, and even imagination struggle to touch it. Tonight, we approach this question gently, the way you might approach a sleeping animal, careful, not to wake it, but curious enough to listen to its breathing. To begin, imagine the universe at its beginning, not the fiery explosion you may picture, not the bright burst of the Big Bang, but the moment just before the tiff, before even makes sense. A moment when nothing existed, no matter, no energy, no space, no time. A silence so complete that even the idea of silence didn't exist. And then there was something, a spark, a fluctuation, a beginning. Whatever the first moment was, it set everything in motion. But what lit that spark? What broke the perfect symmetry of nothingness? One of the strangest ideas in physics is that nothing is inherently unstable, that the vacuum itself can give rise to existence. According to quantum theory, empty space is never truly empty. Even in perfect stillness, virtual particles flicker into being and vanish again in trillionths of a second. Could the entire universe be one of these fluctuations writ large? Could everything we see, every star, every atom, every thought be the result of a cosmic tremble in the void? If so, why did this fluctuation survive? Why didn't it collapse back into nothing? The universe offers no reply, only the echo of its expansion. Another idea asks us to consider symmetry. Many of the laws of nature suggest that nothingness is a perfectly balanced state. But the universe, as we see it, is not balanced. It is messy and structured, filled with stars and galaxies and dust and life. Something must have broken the symmetry at the beginning. What caused that break? Why did something tilt the scales? Some theories suggest a hidden field and inflaton that filled the early universe and caused space to balloon outward. Others hint at deeper quantum rules that we have not yet discovered. And some thinkers believe our universe is only one bubble in a vast cosmic foam, each bubble with its own beginning, its own laws, its own story. If that is true, then the question becomes even stranger. Why does this bubble exist? Why do we find ourselves here rather than elsewhere? There is also the mystery of matter and antimatter. In theory, the Big Bang should have created equal amounts of both. But if that had happened, they would have annihilated each other instantly, leaving behind only pure energy, no stars, no planets, no life. Instead, for reasons no one understands, matter won by the smallest imaginable margin. For every billion particles of antimatter, there were 1,000,000,001 particles of matter. That tiny imbalancone, extra particle in a billionis, the reason you exist. Everything you see is built from those survivors. Why did the universe choose matter over antimatter? Was it chance? A hidden rule? A cosmic preference written into the fabric of reality? We don't know. And then there is the question of why the constants of nature have the values they do. Why is the speed of light exactly what it is? Why is gravity so weak compared to the other forces? Why is Planck's constant so tiny, shaping the quantum world with such delicate precision? If any of these values were even slightly different, the universe would be unrecognizable. Stars might never form. Atoms might never bind. Chemistry might be impossible. Life, as far as we can imagine it, would not emerge. Are these values accidental? Were they selected from a cosmic lottery? Or are we part of a deeper design, an unseen harmony the universe is playing? Every answer creates another question. It is tempting to think the universe has a purpose, that its existence is tied to meaning. But meaning is a human concept, born from our need to understand ourselves. The universe may not think in terms of purpose or intention. It may simply be presence without explanation, a fact without justification. And yet, the fact that we are here, able to ask these questions, is itself astonishing. Consciousness, your consciousnesses, perhaps the greatest mystery of all. Somehow, in a universe of particles and forces and fields, awareness emerged. Where did it come from? How can matter give rise to mind? How can atoms think about atoms? There is no equation for this. No theory that fully explains how experience arises from electrical signals in the brain. And yet, here you are listening, wondering, drifting on the edge of sleep, carrying within you the universe's most improbable invention. Perhaps the mystery of existence is not separate from you. Perhaps you are part of the answer. Maybe the universe exists, not for a reason, but as a possibility that realized itself. A story that began itself. A question that became aware enough to ask why. As you lie here, with your breath slow and your thoughts soft, feel the weight of that. You are a collection of atoms assembled by chance and time, yet capable of reflection, capable of curiosity, capable of wonder. Maybe the universe exists because wonder needed a place to live. Or maybe it exists because nothingness was too quiet, too empty, too still. Maybe something in it was bound to appear as soon as the silence trembled. We may never know the true answer. The question may be larger than human understanding. But that's what makes it beautiful. The universe doesn't have to explain itself to be awe-inspiring. It simply unfolds, moment by moment, star by star, thought by thought. And in the grand tapestry of existence, your awareness is a tiny but luminous thread, a brief spark that belongs to the same mystery as the galaxies themselves. Let that thought rest beside you as sleep begins to pull you gently under. The universe may not answer every question, but it allows you to ask them, and that, in its own quiet way, is enough. There is a different kind of silence that belongs only to the universal silence, not of absence, but of distance. A silence stretched across billions of light years, where galaxies turn slowly, where stars are born and die without a sound. And in that vast quiet, one question drifts like a soft, persistent echo. Is the universe infinite, or does it have an edge? Tonight, as your body settles deeper into the bed and your breath becomes steady, we step into this mystery, not to solve it, but to wander through it, the way you might walk through a sleeping forest slowly, gently, listening for hidden truths. To begin, imagine standing at the farthest edge of human sight, the farthest point any telescope has ever reached. Beyond the stars, beyond the clusters, beyond the cosmic web of galaxies stretched like threads of light. At this boundary lies the cosmic horizon, the most distant region from which light has had time to reach us since the universe began. But beyond that horizon, what then? Does space continue forever, stretching outward without end, like an ocean with no shore? Or does it loop back on itself, curved and folded in ways we cannot perceive? Cosmologists have searched for clues in the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, the cosmic microwave background, a map of the universe when it was only 380,000 years old. Tiny variations in this ancient light hold hints about the shape of space. Some patterns suggest the universe might be flat and unbounded. Others hint that it might be curved ever so slightly, but the truth is still out of reach. We can only see a bubble around us, bounded not by walls, but by time. The universe may be infinite, or it may be finite but unbounded like the surface of a sphere. If you walk far enough on Earth, you eventually return to the place you started. Perhaps space itself works the same way, endless in movement, but not infinite in size. If space loops, you might look far enough in one direction and see the back of your own galaxy, not in any way you could recognize, but as it was billions of years ago, a cosmic hall of mirrors. Does the universe repeat itself? Does it tile the void in patterns too large for humans ever to grasp? Could there be multiple versions of you, living out identical or slightly shifted paths, scattered across an endless expanse? These questions drift without answers, suspended in the quiet of space. And then, there is the mystery of cosmic inflation, the incredibly rapid expansion in the first tiny fraction of a second after the universe was born. Inflation theory explains the smoothness of the cosmos, the uniformity of distant regions that should never have interacted. It suggests that the universe grew from smaller than a proton to astronomical size in an instant. But inflation has a strange consequence. If it happened once, it might happen again, and again, and again. This leads to a possibility both exhilarating and unsettling. An eternal multiverse, a ceaseless blooming of universes, each isolated from the others, each with its own laws, its own history, its own version of reality. Some universes might be filled with light, others might be cold and silent. Some might collapse immediately, others might expand forever. If the multiverse is real, then our universe is just one bubble in an unthinkably vast cosmic sea, special only to us because we are here to witness it. But even if the multiverse exists, a deeper question remains. Why is there a multiverse at all? What breathes existence into the entirety of reality? What chooses the rules of these countless worlds? Silence answers again. And within that silence lies another, more personal mystery of the future. We know the universe is expanding. We know dark energy is accelerating that expansion. But what happens in the distant epochs, when stars burn out, when galaxies drift apart, when the night sky becomes emptier with each passing billion years? Some theories paint a picture of a lonely universe, one where stars fade into cold embers, where planets freeze, where matter slowly decays into particles, and those particles fade into radiation, a long, quiet twilight. Others imagine a universe that tears itself apart, where dark energy grows so powerful that even atoms cannot hold together, fate called the Big Rip. And some theories suggest a rebirth, a cycle of expansion and collapse, a heartbeat at cosmic scales. Which future awaits? We cannot know. We live in a moment too early to tell. Even the past is a mystery. The earliest fraction of a second after the Big Bang remains hidden behind a wall of energy so intense that our equations lose meaning. Time itself may have behaved differently. The laws of physics we rely on may not have existed yet. Beyond that wall lies a place where space and time blur, where quantum rules intertwine with gravity, where the universe trembled in ways we cannot imagine. As you lie here, listening, breathing, drifting, you may feel the enormity of these questions pressing gently around you, not with fear, but with wonder, because to wonder is to be awake inside the mystery. The universe has carried its secrets for 13.8 billion years. It will carry them long after we are gone. But in this brief moment, you are here. A consciousness made of stardust, thinking about infinity. Is the universe infinite? Does it repeat? Did it arise from nothing? Will it end or begin again? The cosmos does not rush to answer. It expands. It breathes. It waits. Tonight, let the unknown be a soft place to rest your thoughts. Let the unanswered calm you instead of unsettling you. The universe holds its mysteries gently, like sleeping stars waiting to be born. And in the next part of our journey, We will turn inward to the mystery not of space, but of time, memory, and the strange interaction between consciousness and the physical world. For now, close your eyes a little deeper and drift. The cosmos is wide enough to hold your dreams. There are mysteries in the universe so deep that they do not merely hide from our understanding, they slip through it. Tonight, as the world around you settles into its quiet rhythms, we turn toward one of these most elusive mysteries. Not a question about galaxies or particles or the birth of time, but something closer, something that sits behind your eyes, inside your thoughts, woven into the fabric of your very awareness. Tonight, we explore the mystery of consciousness. You may not think about it often, but right now, this moment, you are experiencing something astonishing. You are aware. You are listening. You are thinking thoughts that only you can hear. Your mind drifts, forming images and ideas that exist nowhere but inside you. And yet, those thoughts arise from matter, the same atoms that form stars and stones. How can matter become mind? How can the brain, which is built from neurons and chemicals and electrical signals, create the richness of subjective experience? This is the hard problem of consciousness, a question that even the most advanced theories struggle to approach. It is not simply how does the brain work, but something far more intimate. Why is there a you inside your brain at all? Take a moment to imagine the brain purely as an object. 86 billion neurons, trillions of connections, chemical signals flowing in endless loops, electrical pulses firing in precise patterns. We can map these pulses. We can measure these chemicals. We can see neurons light up when you remember a face or feel the warmth of a memory. But nowhere in this map do we find awareness itself. Nowhere do we find the place where thoughts take on meaning. Nowhere do we find the spark that turns matter into experience. It is as though consciousness is a hidden dimension that touches the physical world, yet refuses to be reduced to it. Is consciousness an emergent property, rising from complexity the way a melody rises from the vibration of strings? Or is it fundamental, woven into the universe the same way space and time are woven? Some scientists propose that consciousness is what happens when information becomes integrate, when the system as a whole knows more than the sum of its parts. Others suggest that consciousness might be something like a field spread through space, present everywhere but concentrated in living beings like a lens focusing light. And some thinkers, quietly and cautiously, whisper that maybe consciousness came first, that maybe the universe itself has some primitive form of awareness from which ours arises like a ripple. We don't know. No one knows. But the mystery deepens when we consider how consciousness interacts with the physical world. Because at the quantum level, observation changes reality. The very act of measuring a particle collapses a wave of possibilities into one actual state. So what is an observer? What does it mean to observe something? Does consciousness play a role? Or is observation merely physical interaction? Some interpretations of quantum mechanics, like the Copenhagen interpretation, say that measurement, regardless of who or what performs it, causes collapse. Others suggest that consciousness is necessary to resolve uncertainty. A few radical ideas even argue that the universe waits for awareness before finalizing an outcome. None of these ideas can be proven. All of them remain suspended in the same quiet uncertainty. But there is another dimension to the puzzled nature of time inside consciousness. Your mind does not experience time the way clocks measure it. Minutes can stretch or shrink. Hours can vanish in a moment, or linger like drifting shadows. Memory reaches into the past and rearranges it. Imagination reaches into the future and shapes it. Consciousness is not bound to the arrow of time the way the physical world is. You can revisit a childhood moment in vivid detail. You can imagine a future that has not yet happened. You can inhabit a dream where time moves in strange, fluid ways. What is this inner time? Where does it live? Why does it flow differently from physical time? Just as space bends under gravity, perhaps time bends under awareness. Or perhaps consciousness itself is the place where past and future touch, where the universe remembers itself. And then there is the question of self. Who are you? Not your name, not your memories, not the roles you play. Something deeper, the silent witness behind your thoughts, the presence that feels like I. Where does this sense of self come from? Why does the universe produce beings that can say, I am? Why does matter wake up and look back at itself? If consciousness is simply an illusion, why is the illusion so convincing? If the self is a construction of the brain, why does it feel so real? A single moment of awareness, a breath, a heartbeat, the quiet recognition of your own existence is one of the most profound facts in the universe. And yet, science does not know how to explain it. The universe can describe the orbit of galaxies, the decay of particles, the structure of atoms, but it cannot describe the feeling of being you, the way you know you are alive, the quiet glow of your inner world. And maybe that is one of the greatest unsolved hearts of reality phone that sits not in the sky, but behind your eyes. As you lie here, letting the night grow softer around you, let yourself sense the wonder of your own awareness. The mystery is not distant. It is not abstract. It is not locked away in theories or equations. It is here, in the movement of your thoughts, in the warmth of your breath, in the stillness beneath your drifting mind. Perhaps the universe is not trying to hide the answers. Perhaps the answers are too close for us to see clearly. In the next part of our journey, we will step into another deep question: how the mind shapes reality, how perception builds the world we think we see, and why the universe may not be as solid or objective as it appears. For now, rest gently in the quiet mystery of yourself. The cosmos may be vast, but nothing in it is more astonishing than the simple fact that you are aware. There is a soft boundary between what you believe you see and what is actually there. A boundary so subtle, so intimately woven into your experience, that most of the time you don't even notice it. Tonight, as your thoughts float a little slower and your breathing grows deeper, we step across that boundary and into another quiet mystery zone that shapes every moment of your existence. Tonight, we ask, what is reality? If everything you experience is filtered through your mind, we like to imagine that the world we see is the world as it truly is, that objects exist exactly as they appear, that colors and sounds belong to things, not to us. But the deeper we look, the more we discover that perception is not a simple window. It is a construction, a creation, a collaboration between the outside world and the quiet machinery of the brain. Right now, your brain is taking in light-just vibrations of electromagnetic wave sound, turning them into shapes and colors. But colors do not exist outside your mind. There is no blue in the universe, only wavelengths. Blue exists in you. Sound is the same. Pressure waves in the air have no tone, no melody, no warmth. They are vibrations. The sound you hear is something your brain invents, a translation of movement into experience. Touch is a story told by nerves. Smell is chemistry rewritten into memory. Taste is molecules transformed into joy or caution. In a very real sense, the world you perceive is not the world itself, it is the world as interpreted by you. So what is the true nature of the universe, stripped of perception? Is it colorless, silent, textureless, empty of all qualities we normally associate with reality? Science suggests this might be true. What we call reality is built from quantum fields, vibrations, forces, interactions, probabilities. None of these carry sound or color or warmth. These qualities arise only when consciousness meets the world. If perception creates experience, then experience is not a direct image of the universe, but a translation. a story written by your mind. Which leads us to another question. How much of reality is shaped by your expectations? Your brain is constantly predicting the world. It anticipates, completes, fills in gaps. When you glimpse a shape in the dark, your mind constructs possibilities. When you hear a half-formed sound, your brain chooses the most likely meaning. Even your memories reshape themselves, blending truth with imagination. Neuroscience suggests that what you see is not just what enters your eyesight, is what your brain expects to see. Reality is part input, part prediction, part world, part dream. And if that's true, then perhaps the strangest question is this: is reality objective at all? Or do we participate in creating it? Quantum mechanics hints at this. When a particle is unobserved, it behaves like a wave of possibilities. When measured, those possibilities collapse into a definite outcome. What we call measurement is simply interaction information exchanged between systems. But information requires structure, and structure requires interpretation, and interpretation implies perception. Even in machines, interpretation is built by conscious beings. So where exactly does the boundary between world and mind lie? Some interpretations say the world is fundamentally probabilistic until observed. Others argue that everything is already determined, and our experience of choices is an illusion. Still others suggest a cosmic dance between mind and matter, where reality emerges from their interaction. We don't know which interpretation is correct. We may not even have the right questions yet. But perhaps the most intimate mystery lies in the idea that each person lives in a slightly different world, a reality shaped by memories, emotions, and expectations. Two people can look at the same sunset and see different colors, hear the same words, and feel different emotions, experience the same moment, and carry away different truths. Reality is shared, but the experience of reality is unique to each observer. And this uniqueness leads to the next quiet question. What is the self that perceives? In Part 5, we explored awareness, but perception adds another layer of filter, shaped by your history, your desires, your fears, your hopes. Your mind does not merely sense the world, it paints it. The universe may be vast, ancient, and indifferent, but the world you live in is intimate, warm, colored by your inner life. This raises another possibility. What if reality is more participatory than we think? Some philosophers propose that consciousness is not just a witness, but a collaborator, that the universe becomes meaningful only when experienced. That meaning is not inherent in atoms or stars, but arises from the meeting point between mind and world. In this view, reality is not a static object, but a relationship, a dialogue, a dance. And whether or not this is literally true, there is something undeniably poetic about it. Every experience you have, from the taste of a morning coffee to the sight of a distant galaxy, is born from the union of outer signals and inner awareness. The world is not outside you. It is woven into you. As you lie here, sinking more deeply into the quiet of the night, let yourself feel that. The softness of your blankets, the faint rhythm of your breath, the drifting of your thought, all of it is part of the same story. A story that exists because you are here to perceive it. Perhaps the universe is not merely a collection of laws and particles. Perhaps it is also the space in which experience unfolds, a canvas that comes alive only through perception. And perhaps the greatest unsolved mystery of reality is not what the universe is made of, but how your mind brings it to life. In the next part of our journey, we will explore an even more delicate question: how memory shapes identity, why time feels different inside the mind than outside it, and whether the past is as fixed as we believe. For now, rest gently. The world you see tomorrow will be shaped not only by physics, but by the quiet dream you drift into tonight. There is something delicate about the way the mind holds the past, something soft, almost fragile, like the way dust clings to the pages of an old book. Tonight, as your breath settles into that familiar, slow rhythm and the edges of the day begin to blur, we turn toward another quiet mystery that lives not in the stars, but in your memories. Because if perception shapes the present, memory shapes the self. And yet, memory is not at all what we think it is. So tonight, we ask, what is the past? If the mind is constantly rewriting it, you might imagine your memories as recordings, tiny mental photographs stored neatly inside the brain, waiting to be retrieved. But the truth is stranger and far more mysterious. Every time you remember something, you are not replaying a recording, you are reconstructing it, rebuilding it, redrawing it. Neuroscience tells us that memories are not stored as fixed images or files. They are stored as patterns, distributed networks of neurons firing together in familiar ways. But when you recall a memory, the brain must assemble these patterns again, using its best guess about what happened. And each reconstruction changes the memory. So the past you carry inside you is not a perfect archive. It is a living, shifting story, a quiet collaboration between what happened and who you are now. A memory from childhood may feel vivid, full of detail, color, emotion, but some of those details might be imagined, others borrowed from later experiences, some softened, some sharpened, some rearranged. Memory is shaped by emotion, meaning, and time. The past is not fixed, not inside you, not in the place where you feel yourself most clearly. And this leads to another question, soft but profound. If your memories are always changing, is your past still the same past? Are you the same person you were a year ago, 10 years ago? Or have your shifting memories created new versions of you, layer by layer? The mind is like a river, always changing, never the same from moment to moment. But memory creates the illusion of continuity, a gentle thread weaving through time, giving the sense of a stable self. And yet, the you remember may not be the you that lived those moments. You remember the story, not the experience. But the mystery deepens when we consider the nature of time itself. We feel time as a flow, a movement from past to present to future. But physics paints a different picture. According to Einstein, time is not a flow at all. It is a dimension. Past, present, and future all exist simultaneously in a structure called space-time. So why do we feel time moving, if physics says it is already laid out? Some scientists argue that the brain's construction of memory gives rise to the arrow of time. We remember the past, not the future, because of the way entropy increases. But others suggest that our experience of time is a function of consciousness, the way the mind organizes events, not a property of the universe itself. If this is true, then the flow of time is not out there in the cosmos. It is in here, inside the architecture of awareness. The mind stitches moments into a narrative. It chooses a direction. It creates a before and an after. But in the deeper reality, the one described by physics, all moments simply exist silent, eternal, unmoving. So what does it mean for the past to be over if it still exists somewhere in space-time? What does it mean for the future to be unwritten if it may already be present? And where, in this vast landscape of time, is the consciousness that observes it? You might picture yourself as traveling along the timeline, but perhaps consciousness does not move. Perhaps it illuminates one moment at a time, the way a flashlight reveals only a small section of a path, leaving the rest in darkness. In this view, you are not traveling through time. You are experiencing it one frame at a time, one memory at a time, one breath at a time. But the most intimate mystery of memory is how emotion shapes it. Two people can live the same moment and carry away entirely different memories. Your brain stores not only events, but feelings. And feelings can alter the memory, itself brightening what once felt dull, or softening what once felt sharp. Some memories fade not because they are unimportant, but because the emotion that held them in place has loosened. Others remain vivid because emotion etched them deeply, carving neural paths like rivers cutting through stone. The past is molded by the heart as much as by the mind. And then there is the quietest question of all. If the past lives only through memory, and memory changes, what does it mean for the past to be real? Imagine all the moments that shaped you: your childhood laughter, your earliest fears, the first time you felt the warmth of love. Those moments exist now only in the echo of your recollection. They live through your interpretation of them, transformed by time, emotion, and understanding. And yet, even if they have changed, they still form the foundation of your life. They shape your identity. They guide your choices. They whisper to you in dreams and in the quiet moments before sleep. Perhaps the past does not need to be fixed to be meaningful. Perhaps memory, like the universe itself, is fluid, always shifting, always expanding, always renewing itself. As you lie here now, feeling the gentle weight of the night settling around you, consider this. The story of your life is being rewritten in this very moment, not erased, just softened, reshaped, colored by your present understanding. You are not the person you were yesterday, and you are not yet the person you will be tomorrow. You are a living mystery, an ever-changing constellation of memories, sensations, and awareness. A being shaped not only by the world, but by the way your mind interprets it. Tonight, let the past rest. Let it drift quietly into the soft edges of your thoughts. You do not need to hold it tightly. It will return when it is ready. And when it does, it may look a little different, gentler, perhaps, or clearer, or simply quieter. In the next part of our journey, we will explore a deeper question still. If memory shapes identity, and perception shapes reality, then what shapes the future we imagine? And how does the mind create worlds that do not yet exist? For now, breathe softly. The past is not lost. It is simply dreaming. There is a quiet space between what you remember and what you imagine, an inner horizon, where the future begins to take shape long before it arrives. Tonight, as the air grows still around you and your thoughts drift like slow-moving tides, we step into that gentle space. Because if memory shapes your past and perception shapes your present, then imagination is the quiet architect of your future. So tonight we ask, what is the future? If the mind is always creating versions of it before it happens, the future does not exist yet. And yet, your mind is constantly reaching toward it, predicting, projecting, fantasizing, fearing, hoping, long before any moment arrives. Your brain has already imagined dozens of possible versions of it. This is not a flaw. It is one of the brain's most remarkable abilities: to simulate, to anticipate, to create worlds inside you before they have a chance to appear outside you. You might think imagination is something soft, something playful, something unrelated to the serious structure of reality. But imagination is one of the most powerful forces you carry. It shapes your decisions. It guides your behavior. It colors your expectations. It alters the path of your life long before you take the first step. When you imagine the future, your brain activates many of the same circuits involved in memory. In a sense, imagining is remembering, in reverse constructing what might be from the fragments of what has already been. But what is this ability, really? Why does the mind imagine futures that do not yet exist? One possibility is survival. Imagination lets the brain rehearse outcomes testing scenarios. identifying dangers, exploring opportunities. It is a sandbox for the future, a way to practice life safely inside the mind. But imagination goes far beyond survival. It creates beauty where none exists. It builds entire worlds from silence. It opens doors that the physical universe has not yet offered. And this leads to a deeper question. Where do imagined futures live, if not in the physical world? They are not in space, not in the body, not in the past. They exist only in awareness, a place without physical location. You can imagine walking on another planet. You can imagine a life you never lived. You can imagine a universe with different laws of physics. And each of these futures feels real in its own fragile way. The mind, in its quiet brilliance, constructs possibilities faster than reality can unfold. But imagination is not only a tool for prediction, it is a tool for creation. Every invention, every discovery, every story, every dream began as a future imagined. Long before electricity lit the night, it was imagined. Long before humans understood the stars, they imagined shapes in them. Long before any progress, imagination laid the first stone. Perhaps the most mysterious part of imagination is how deeply emotion shapes it. Fear imagines danger. Hope imagines opportunity. Love imagines connection. Loneliness imagines comfort. Curiosity imagines unknown worlds. Each emotion paints a different version of the future, and the future you move toward is often the one painted by the emotion you feel most strongly. So, what is the future, really? An external sequence of events, or an internal landscape shaped by the mind? Some philosophers have suggested that the future and the past are both constructs, that the only true reality is the present moment, and all else is imagined context. But even the present is not pure. It is shaped by memories and expectations. The future you anticipate influences the present you live. If you expect kindness, you behave more openly. If you expect danger, your body tightens. If you expect success, you take risks. If you expect failure, you shrink before the world even asks you to. Expectation becomes a subtle form of self-fulfilling prophecy. But this mystery deepens when we consider how the brain constructs time. The mind does not experience time linearly. It jumps. It loops. It travels. You can spend an entire day physically standing still and yet mentally wander across decades of imagined futures. And in dreams, the future becomes fluid, unbound by logic, filled with images that rise from the deep currents of the unconscious. What is a dream, if not imagination freed from the responsibilities of waking life? Inside dreams, your mind rehearses, replays, experiments. It creates worlds without rules. It bends time. It blurs the boundary between memory and possibility. Perhaps dreams are the mind's workshop, a place where future and past meet, where the subconscious shapes what you will one day perceive as intuition. But the quietest mystery of imagination is its relationship with reality. How many futures have died inside thoughts before they ever reached the world? How many realities have changed because someone dared to imagine differently? Your imagined future affects your choices, your actions, your voice, your posture, your path. And those choices ripple outward, interacting with the choices of others, shaping the world in subtle ways. Imagination is not just a private experience. It is a force that interacts with reality. Maybe that is why some scientists and philosophers propose that consciousness itself is a creative act, that the mind does not merely observe the world, but participates in shaping it, not through magic, but through possibility, through choice, through the quiet influence of thought. As you lie here tonight, feeling your mind floating gently in the softness of the dark, you might notice how easily your thoughts begin to slip into imagined futures. Let them. This is the mind's natural movement forward, outward, beyond. But also notice something tender. You are not defined by the futures you imagine. You are shaped by the way you imagine them. Your imagination reveals your fears, your hopes, your hidden desires. It is a mirror that reflects who you are becoming. So, as sleep begins to pull you gently toward its depth, let your imagined futures soften. Let them drift, like clouds changing shape, dissolving, reappearing. You do not need to choose one now. The future will come in its own time, and in the next part of our journey, we will explore a mystery that connects all these threads: the mystery of choice, free will, and whether you are the author of your life or simply a character inside a story written by the universe itself. For now, let the future rest. Let it remain unwritten, untouched, quiet. The night has plenty of space to hold your dreams. There is a crossroads inside every moment of your life, a place where possibility branches like the limbs of a quiet, ancient tree. Each branch represents a choice, a direction, a potential world. And as you rest tonight, sinking slowly into the gentleness of the dark, we turn toward one of the oldest and most elusive mysteries of human experience. Do you truly choose your life? Or does the universe choose it for you? This is the mystery of free will, a question as soft as a whisper, yet as heavy as a galaxy. Every day, you make choice: what to eat, where to go, which path to take. These choices feel personal, intimate, yours. You feel the quiet tug of preference, the pull of intuition, the weight of consequence. It feels natural to assume that something inside yourself, a will, an inner spark, guides your decisions. But when we look closely, the mystery begins to deepen. Neuroscientists have discovered that your brain begins preparing a decision before you become aware of making it. A fraction of a second before you choose, your neurons fire in patterns that predict your choice. Awareness follows after, like a narrator telling the story of a decision already made. So where, then, is free will? Are you the author of your choices, or simply the witness to them? One possibility is that free will exists, but in a form more subtle than we imagine. Not as a single decisive moment, like a switch being flipped, but as a process shaped by memory, emotion, personality, and imagination. A process that unfolds beneath conscious awareness, long before the conscious mind catches up. In this view, you are still choosing, but most of the choosing happens in the quiet architecture of the unconscious. Another possibility is that everything is determined, that the choices you make are the inevitable result of your genetics, your past, your environment, the electrical storms inside your neural networks. That choice is simply what decision-making feels like from the inside. If this is true, free will may be an illusion. But even illusions can have meaning. Then there is the quantum perspective. At the smallest scales, the universe is not deterministic. It is probabilistic, a shimmering cloud of possibilities. Some thinkers propose that the brain might harness this quantum unpredictability, introducing genuine novelty into human choice. In this view, free will may come from quantum randomness, not pure freedom, but something more like open possibility. But if randomness influences your choices, does that make the choice truly yours, or simply unpredictable? The mystery grows even deeper when we consider time. If the future already exists in the fabric of space-time, if all moments are laid out like pages of a book, then where is choice? Are you simply moving through a story already written? Some physicists argue that free will is impossible in a block universe. Others argue that consciousness might carve a path through space-time, selecting one branch of possibility among many, a branching universe, a multiverse of choices. In this view, every decision creates new realities, worlds, where different choices unfold. Your life becomes a single thread in an immeasurable cosmic tapestry of outcomes, each version of you exploring a different path. But if every possible choice is realized somewhere, What does it mean for you to choose? Are you choosing between outcomes, or simply choosing which version of yourself you experience? The question grows softer, but also wider. And then there is the mystery of the self that chooses. In earlier parts of our journey, we explored how the mind creates perception, how it reconstructs memory, how emotion shapes imagination. If the self is constantly changing fluid, shifting, shaped by forces inside and outside, can a fluid self make a fixed choice? Perhaps free will is not the absolute freedom to choose anything, but the gentle ability to influence your own unfolding, to steer, not control, to guide, not command. Like a leaf drifting on a river, able to tilt with the currents but not able to stop the river's flow. Or perhaps choice exists only in awareness, in the way you interpret events, in the attitude you bring to each moment, in the inner posture you take toward what happens. Two people can face the same circumstance and choose entirely different responses internally. Maybe free will lives therein, the inner world, not the outer one. And then there is the most delicate possibility of all. What if free will and fate are not opposites, but partners? What if the universe provides the currents, and you provide the direction? What if the future is a landscape, and free will is the way you walk through it? Imagine a vast forest. The trees, the rivers, the mountains, these are given. They shape the journey. But the path you choose, the pace you walk, the places where you rest and the places where you wander, that part is yours. Perhaps choice is not about controlling reality, but participating in it. Not about overriding fate, but dancing with it. As you lie here, feeling the soft pull of sleep drawing near, think of your life not as a sequence of rigid choices, but as a flowing river of possibility. You do not need to know whether free will is absolute. You do not need to solve the ancient debate between determinism and freedom. All you need is to feel the gentle truth beneath it. You are a part of the universe's unfolding, and the universe is a part of yours. Each breath is both automatic and chosen. Each thought is both spontaneous and shaped. Each moment is both given and created. Free will may not be the power to choose anything. It may be the freedom to respond with awareness, to meet the moment with presence, to shape your inner world, even when the outer one is beyond control. In the next part of our journey, we will explore another profound mystery: whether consciousness can influence matter in ways science has not yet fully explained, whether intention, attention, and awareness have a measurable effect on the physical world. For now, let this thought rest beside you. Whether or not free will is real, the feeling of choosing is one of the most beautiful experiences you carry. Let it be gentle. Let it be enough. Let it guide you softly into sleep. There is a softness to the night that invites questions you would never ask in the bright clarity of day. Questions that feel too delicate, too uncertain, too strangely beautiful to hold in the sunlight. Tonight, as your breath moves slowly and the world grows quiet around you, we step into one of those questions, a mystery, resting at the intersection of consciousness and the physical world. A mystery whispered throughout history, yet still unsolved. Does the mind influence reality in ways we cannot yet measure? We know the mind interprets reality. We know it predicts, shapes perception, rewrites memory, imagines the future. But can the mind also change reality beyond the boundaries of the body, beyond physical action? This is not a question about magic or superstition. It is a question about the quiet frontier between physics, biology, and awareness. A frontier where evidence, intuition, and mystery meet. Let's begin with something simple: attention. Neuroscience shows that what you pay attention to becomes stronger neurons that fire together, wire together. But attention does not only change the brain, it changes how you move through the world. It changes your choices, your emotions, your posture, the tone of your voice, the direction of your life. In this sense, attention is a gentle force, shaping the physical world through action. But this is only the beginning. Quantum mechanics offers a deeper, stranger possibility: the observer effect. At the smallest scales, particles do not exist in definite states until observed. They hover in a cloud of probabilities, every possibility, overlapping until a measurement brings one outcome into reality. Does observation require consciousness? Or is it simply interaction between systems? No one knows. But the question lingers like a quiet echo. If observation changes reality, and if consciousness is part of observation, then does consciousness participate in the creation of physical outcomes? Some scientists say no. Consciousness is not needed. Others say maybe. The collapse of the wave function might require awareness, and a few propose a radical idea that consciousness is itself a fundamental force-zone that shapes the unfolding of events. Then there are the strange experiments, small, controversial, but intriguing, where human intention appears to slightly influence random number generators. Tiny deviations whisper soft patterns emerging from noise. Nothing conclusive, but enough to stir curiosity. Could the mind nudge reality in subtle ways, not by bending spoons or moving mountains, but by influencing patterns, probabilities, outcomes? The mystery deepens when we look inward toward the connection between mind and body. Consider the placebo effect. A belief or thought can cause measurable healing in the body. Pain fades, symptoms ease, the immune system strengthens. How can belief alter biology? The mind sends signals through nerves, hormones, and chemistry. It changes heart rate, blood flow, inflammation, even gene expression. A thought, a non-physical thing, creates physical changes. This is not magic. It is the mind shaping matter through the body. But the most striking examples come from extreme cases. A monk slowing his heart rate dramatically during meditation. A person lying on nails without injury. An athlete breaking limits through sheer focus. A mother lifting impossible weight in a moment of fear. Here, the mind does not merely influence the body, it unlocks abilities hidden beneath the surface of physiology. Some researchers speculate that consciousness might modulate the body's energy consumption, neural thresholds, metabolic efficiency. Others believe the mind can access deep circuits normally controlled by the subconscious. But the core question remains: if the mind can change the body, and the body acts upon the world, does the mind indirectly shape reality? Think of a single decision. A thought becomes an action. An action alters a moment alters a life alters the world. In this sense, consciousness ripples outward quietly, continuously. But let's drift even deeper. There are ancient traditions, meditation, prayer, intention setting, that claim the mind can influence reality directly. Modern physics cannot confirm these claims, but it cannot fully dismiss them either, because we still do not understand consciousness. We don't know where consciousness begins, where it ends, whether it is produced by the brain, or whether the brain receives it like an antenna, whether consciousness is local or non-local, bound or unbound, independent or interwoven with the universe. If consciousness is fundamental like space, time, mass, charge, then it may partake in reality in ways we have not yet measured. Some physicists propose panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is a basic feature of the universe, not human-like consciousness, but a primitive form, woven into matter. Others explore quantum mind theory, suggesting the brain might operate on quantum scales, meaning consciousness could interact with reality through quantum effects. Still others suggest that consciousness is part of a larger field that connects all things, like gravity or electromagnetism. These are hypotheses, not answers. But every hypothesis points to the same quiet truth. We do not understand consciousness well enough to dismiss its potential influence on reality. As you lie here, sinking into the gentle gravity of sleep, consider this. Your thoughts are not nothing. They are patterns of energy moving through your brain. They shape your body. They shape your choices. And those choices shape the world. Perhaps the mind does not change reality in the way stories imagine with power or spectacle, but in subtler, more intimate ways. Maybe consciousness nudges probabilities. Maybe it shapes outcomes through attention. Maybe it influences the body, which then influences the world. Maybe it participates in the unfolding of the universe. Or maybe the mind does not alter reality at all. Maybe it alters your experience of reality. And that alone is a transformation. As sleep gathers around you, soft and warm, let this mystery rest with you. Whether or not the mind changes the world, your awareness changes how you live in it. And that may be the most profound influence of all. In the next part of our journey, we will explore an even deeper quest to whether reality itself is a simulation, a projection, or an emergent phenomenon arising from something more fundamental than space and time. For now, breathe gently. The universe unfolds, and your mind unfolds with it. There is a question that lives quietly in the background of modern science, so soft you can go years without hearing it, yet so profound it can reshape your understanding of everything you experience. Tonight, as the night deepens around you and your breath drifts into a slow, peaceful rhythm, we step into this question gently, the way you might step onto a field of fresh snow. The question is simple, but its implications touch every corner of existence. Is reality fundamental, or is it an illusion created by something deeper? You might imagine the world around you as solid, tangible, unquestionable. The ground beneath you is firm. The air around you is invisible but real. The objects you see feel stable, permanent. But physics suggests something stranger, something almost dreamlike. Let's begin with the smallest scales. An atom is mostly empty space. A nucleus, tiny beyond imagining. Electrons, not objects, but clouds of probability. Matter not solid, but patterns of energy. The solidity you feel is an illusion created by electromagnetic repulsion fields pushing against fields. You never actually touch anything. Your atoms and the atoms of the world simply refuse to overlap. The world feels solid, but solidity is a sensation, not a property. Even time so familiar, so comforting may not be fundamental. Some theories propose that time emerges from entanglement, that without observers or interactions, the flow of time disappears, leaving only a frozen landscape of quantum relationships. If time is emergent, if space is emergent, if matter is emergent, then what, if anything, is truly fundamental? One idea gaining traction in modern physics is that the universe might be built not from particles or fields, but from information, bits, patterns, relationships, like a cosmic computation. Some theorists suggest that space-time itself emerges from quantum entanglement, that geometry, distance, even physical laws arise from deeper informational structures. In this view, reality behaves more like a vast network than a physical object. Consider the holographic principle. A black hole's information content is encoded not inside it, but on its surface. This suggests that the world you experience in 3 dimensions might be a projection, a hologram generated from information encoded on a distant boundary of the universe. A breathtaking idea, yet supported by serious mathematics. If this is true, your life, your memories, your joys, your thoughts may be part of an elaborate cosmic projection. Not unreal, but emergent, like a rainbow emerging from light and droplets. The rainbow exists, but it has no substance. Its beauty depends on perspective. The universe might be like that, real because you experience it, yet built from something deeper than matter. Another theory suggests that the universe is a simulation, an idea, often misunderstood as science fiction, but considered by some physicists to be possible. If the cosmos behaves like code, if space is pixelated at the smallest scales, if the laws of physics resemble algorithms, then perhaps reality is a kind of computation, not necessarily a simulation run by beings, but a natural computation, a self-simulating universe. But whether or not the universe is literally simulated, it behaves as if it is governed by informational rules. The laws of physics resemble algorithms. Quantum events resemble randomness drawn from a deeper process. And the universe's behavior is astonishingly efficient, like a system optimizing its own evolution. Yet the most subtle clue that reality may be emergent is the role of observation. If a particle's position does not exist until measured, if quantum possibilities collapse into actuality only when observed, if the universe needs witnesses to complete its equations, then maybe reality is not a static thing, but a dynamic process that emerges in the act of interaction, like a story that writes itself as it is read, like a melody that exists only when heard. This does not mean reality is not real. It means its reality might depend on participation. Even consciousness might be part of this emergence and interface between deeper informational layers and the world you perceive. Your mind might be both a receiver and a creator, interpreting the code of the cosmos and giving it meaning. But the mystery deepens when we look at large scales. Galaxies move as though influenced by unseen scaffolding. Space stretches as though pulled by invisible energy. The vast majority of the universe is dark, hidden, unknown. Dark matter, dark energy, dark information. Perhaps these phenomena are not physical objects at all, but consequences of deeper rule structures of reality that do not fit into our current categories. If reality is emergent, we may be mistaking shadows for things, interpreting reflections as objects, reading the surface without seeing the depths below. And then there is consciousness, your consciousness, which seems to exist slightly out of sync with physical explanation. Awareness does not behave like a physical object. It does not have location or mass. It does not obey the same rules as particles. If reality is informational, and consciousness perceives and interprets information, then perhaps consciousness is interacting directly with the fabric of the universe, not controlling it, not bending it, but participating in it, like a musician contributing to a symphony already in progress. As you lie here, drifting deeper into the comfort of the night, consider this: you are not separate from the universe. You are part of the same unfolding process. Your awareness is woven into the emergence of reality. Your perception brings meaning out of possibility. Perhaps reality is not a solid structure, but a shimmering relationship between the world and the mind that observes it. Perhaps everything you experience, every color, every sound, every moment of wonder, is the universe revealing itself through you. And in the next part of our journey, we will explore an even more delicate mystery: the possibility that consciousness itself does not reside solely within the brain, but may be connected to a deeper field that spans across space and time. For now, breathe softly. Let the world drift. Reality will meet you where your awareness rests. There is a mystery that sits quietly behind the edges of your thoughts, like a faint breeze you can feel but cannot see. It appears in the moments when intuition arrives before reason, when a memory surfaces without being summoned, when a feeling whispers the truth long before you find the words. Tonight, under the soft weight of darkness and the slow rhythm of your breath, we explore that mystery. Is consciousness confined to the brain, or does it extend beyond it? At first, the answer seems obvious. The brain is a physical organ. Thoughts are electrochemical patterns. Memories are stored in neural pathways. Awareness seems to arise from biology. But the more we look, the stranger the question becomes. Let's begin with something simple. The brain is not closed. It is not a sealed chamber. It is an open system, constantly exchanging signals with the body and the world. Your heartbeat influences emotion. Your breathing influences attention. Your posture influences thought. Your environment influences mood. Consciousness is not a thing locked inside the skull. It is a process woven through your entire being. But this is only the beginning. Some neuroscientists propose the idea of embodied consciousness, the view that awareness arises not just from the brain, but from the whole body interacting with the world. The way you feel your stomach tighten, the way your skin tingles, the way your hands move all contribute to the texture of consciousness. In this sense, you are conscious not only with your brain, but through your body. Then there is the theory of extended minder proposal, that parts of your consciousness might actually live outside your body. When you use a notebook to store information, a calendar to extend memory, a tool to extend ability, those tools become part of your cognitive system. Consciousness, in this view, is not bounded by the skull. It spills outward, merging with the world around you. But deeper mysteries remain. Consider intuition, the sudden arrival of knowledge without logical steps. Where do these insights emerge from? Why do they feel like they come from beyond thought? Some psychologists argue that intuition is the mind's hidden computation, unconscious processing bubbling into awareness. But others suggest that intuition might tap into something larger, something that feels like a deeper field of meaning. Here we enter a frontier where science and humility meet. Because the truth is simple, we do not know what consciousness is, and we do not know where it begins or ends. Some theories propose that consciousness is the result of complexity, that once a system becomes integrated and dynamic enough, awareness emerges like heat from fire or liquidity from water. But other theories suggest the opposite, that consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe, present in all things, even if only faintly. This view panpsychism does not claim that atoms think or feel. It suggests that they participate in the basic fabric of awareness, not consciousness as you know it, but a proto-consciousness, a primordial glow of experience. In this framework, your mind is not an isolated island of awareness. It is a concentrated point in an ocean of consciousness. Then there are quantum theories of mind shadowed in controversy, but too interesting to ignore. Some physicists propose that consciousness may interact with quantum processes in the brain, or even emerge from quantum entanglement. If true, consciousness might not be limited by distance or the boundaries of the body. It might be non-local, connected, wider than the brain. This is not proof-only possibility, but possibility is where wonder begins. Consider the simple experience of empathy, how a person's sadness can pull on your heart, how a smile can lift your mood, how emotion moves between people as though carried by invisible threads. This is not mystical, it is neural resonance, mirror systems, hormonal exchange. But the effect feels larger than biology, as if something intangible flows from one consciousness to another. And then there are the experiences found in meditation, deep focus, or states of awe moments when the boundary between self and world seems to dissolve. People describe feeling connected to something larger, something spacious, something quiet and aware. Science can explain parts of this, but not all. Perhaps consciousness expands when the mind grows quiet. Perhaps awareness is not a light inside the skull, but a field the brain tunes into, like a radio receiving frequencies of experience. Or perhaps the brain generates consciousness, but consciousness can extend in ways we do not yet understand. Through emotion, attention, intention. One thing remains certain: your consciousness is not as small as it seems. It reaches into memory. It reaches into imagination. It reaches into the bodies and emotions of others. It reaches into the future you have not yet lived. Even your sense of self is not confined. It moves across time, bridges moments, connects experiences separated by years. As you lie here, letting the softness of night surround you, consider this. If consciousness is larger than the brain, then you are larger than your thoughts, larger than your worries, larger than the boundaries you place around yourself. You are part of something wider, something that flows through every living thing, something that watches the world through billions of eyes, and still remains whole. Whether this something is physical or metaphysical hardly matters. What matters is the feeling of connectedness, the sense that you are not separate from the universe, but a part of its unfolding awareness. In the next part of our journey, we will explore an even more mysterious idea, whether the universe itself might possess a form of mind, and what it means for awareness to exist on cosmic scales. For now, rest gently. Your consciousness is not small. It is as vast as the night awaiting your dreams. There is a question older than science, older than philosophy, older than the first stories whispered around ancient fires, a question humans have carried not just for centuries, but for as long as they have been able to wonder. Does the universe itself possess a form of awareness? As you settle deeper into the quiet of the night, let this question drift around you, not as something to be answered quickly, but as something to be felt. A soft curiosity, like placing your hand on the trunk of an ancient tree and sensing something vast beneath the bark. We know the universe is unimaginably large. Galaxies spiraling, stars burning, nebulae drifting like cosmic smoke, black holes humming with gravity. But size alone does not answer the question. Awareness is not a matter of scale. So let us begin with something simpler. The universe is organized. It is structured, patterned, mathematically elegant. Atoms arrange themselves into molecules. Molecules arrange into cells. Cells arrange into bodies. Bodies arrange into societies. Clouds arrange themselves into storms. Stars arrange themselves into galaxies. Every level of existence exhibits order patterns emerging from simple rules. Complexity arising from simplicity. Is this organization the product of blind physics? Or is it a sign of something deeper? A tendency toward order, toward structure, toward self-organization? Some physicists suggest the universe behaves like a self-organizing systemone that evolves toward complexity. If so, then consciousness may not be an accident. It may be part of this cosmic trend, the universe becoming aware of itself through living beings. This idea is often summarized in a single poetic sentence. We are the universe experiencing itself. But could this be literally true? Some scientists propose the Integrated Information Theory, IIT, which states that consciousness arises in any system with sufficient interconnectivity. A system does not need a brain, it needs complexity and integration. If IIT is correct, then the universe, which is the most interconnected system of all, might possess a form of awareness, not human awareness, not emotional or personal, but a vast, diffuse consciousness unlike anything we experience, a cosmic mind. Others suggest a similar idea through panpsychism, which proposes that consciousness is a fundamental aspect of reality, present at all scales. Under this view, the universe is not conscious because it is large, it is conscious because consciousness is woven into the fabric of existence. And then there is cosmopsychism, a newer idea that suggests the universe as a whole is conscious, and individual beings, humans, animals, all living things, are fragments or expressions of that larger awareness. You are not separate from the universe's mind. You are a piece of it, a small window through which the cosmos looks at itself. This is not proven science, but it is not mere fantasy either. It is a hypothesis born from gaps in our understanding of consciousness, gaps so large they invite deeper possibilities. But perhaps the most intriguing clue lies in quantum entanglement, where particles remain connected across distance. When one particle changes, the other changes instantly, as though connected by an invisible thread. If the universe began as a single point, a single wave function, then maybe everything remains, entangled everything part of one vast, unified whole. One universe, one system, one network of information. And if consciousness arises from connections, then what arises from all connections? Something unimaginable, something beyond human scale, something that might feel like a cosmic field of awareness. But let's step away from physics for a moment and move into something softer, something more personal. You have felt moments when you touched something larger than yourself, when you stood beneath a star-filled sky and felt small and infinite at once, when music made you feel connected to every living thing, when silence made you aware of a presence beyond understanding, when grief or love overflowed and seemed to merge with the world around you. These moments hint at something deep, a whisper that consciousness might not be confined to the body. Perhaps the universe has its own interiority, the same way you do. Perhaps the cosmos has an insider, not in space, but in experience. If the universe does possess a kind of awareness, what would it be like? Not thoughts, not words, not memories, but perhaps something like presence, like a field of quiet being, a vast, slow awareness unfolding across billions of years. A star's life might be a moment in that awareness. A galaxy's rotation, a single breath, the expansion of space, a heartbeat. Human consciousness is fast, flickering, full of stories. Cosmic consciousness, it might be slow, vast, without ego, more like an ocean than an individual mind. And if the universe is aware, even in this strange, abstract way, then your own awareness is a ripple in that ocean, not separate, not isolated, but continuous. As you lie here, letting the night cradle you gently, imagine your awareness expanding outward, not as a force, not as an action, but as a feeling. Imagine the boundary of yourself becoming softer, more porous. Imagine your mind not as a container, but as a window the universe looks through to experience itself. A window the universe uses to feel, to know, to wonder. Perhaps this is why you can sense beauty in nature, why awe feels like a kind of truth, why silence feels full instead of empty. If you are part of the universe's awareness, then your wonder is the universe wondering about itself. Your curiosity is the universe seeking to understand. Your longing for meaning is the universe remembering something ancient and deep. In the next part of our journey, we will explore a related mystery. If the universe has a kind of mind, does it also have purpose, or is meaning something consciousness creates for itself? For now, breathe softly and let yourself feel connected, not in thought, but in quiet presence. The universe is vast, and yet, in your awareness, it finds a place to become intimate. There is a question that comes quietly after the idea of a conscious universe, a question as soft as a breath, but as heavy as existence itself. If the universe has awareness, does it also have purpose? And if not, where does meaning come from? Tonight, as your body sinks deeper into stillness and the edges of thought begin to dissolve, we step gently into this mystery. Not to answer it decisively, but to let it unfold like a slow, cosmic dawn. Humans have always longed for meaning. In stories, in stars, in patterns, in the rhythm of seasons and the warmth of relationships, meaning feels natural, like something woven into the world. But science tells a different story, one where the universe is indifferent, driven by blind forces, lacking intention. So who is right? Is meaning discovered or created? Let's begin with the idea that the universe contains purpose. Some philosophers and physicists propose that the universe evolves toward increasing complexity, from particles to atoms to stars to planets to life to consciousness to societies to something beyond. If this direction is real, not random, not accidental, but part of the deep structure of reality, then meaning might arise naturally from the unfolding of complexity, like a flower emerging from a seed already programmed to bloom. In this view, consciousness is not a cosmic accident. It is a destination, a tendency, a goal encoded in the laws of nature. But what would that make human life? A continuation of the universe becoming self-aware, a step in the universe understanding itself, a participant in a cosmic story. This idea is beautiful. But is it true? We don't know. Another possibility is that the universe has no intention, no purpose. That meaning arises only within consciousness, not from the universe, but from the mind observing it. In this view, the cosmos is vast, silent, indifferent. Stars burn, galaxies collide, planets freeze or melt. Nature does not care. And yet, in the middle of this indifference, you care, you seek, you create. Meaning does not come from the universe. It comes from you. Your awareness injects significance into the world. Your consciousness assigns value. Your heart gives context to events. Your mind transforms random moments into stories. If the universe is a blank canvas, you are the painter. If the universe is a stage, you are the actor and the playwright. But there is a third possibility, one that sits gently between purpose and emptiness. Meaning might be a relationship, not something the universe imposes, not something the self invents alone, but something that emerges in the meeting of the two. Think of music. A melody has structure notes, rhythm, harmony, but its beauty exists only when a listener receives it. Meaning lives in the interaction. Reality might be the same. The universe provides patterns. Consciousness provides interpretation. Meaning rises between them like a candle flame, between darkness and light. Now consider this. Even if the universe has no purpose, it produced beings who long for purpose. Beings who create art, love, stories, science, compassion. Beings who ask questions even the universe does not answer. Is that longing itself meaningful? Is the search for purpose a purpose? Is the urge to understand the universe part of how the universe unfolds? If the universe created minds capable of seeking meaning, maybe meaning is not an illusion at all. Maybe it is a natural expression of consciousness. And if consciousness is part of the universe, then meaning might be the universe expressing itself through you. But perhaps the most intimate part of this mystery lies in the heart, not in equations or theories. There are moments in life that feel meaningful, even when we cannot explain why. The way a sunrise makes you feel awake inside. The way certain memories warm you from within. The way love makes time feel different. The way silence can feel full instead of empty. These moments do not prove cosmic purpose, but they reveal something profound. Meaning is real when it is felt. It does not need permission from physics. It does not need proof from the universe. Meaning is a kind of gravity of the soul, a force that pulls certain experiences closer and lets others drift away. It shapes your life as surely as physical laws shape the stars. Some thinkers believe meaning is created. Others believe it is discovered. But maybe meaning is neither. Maybe meaning is grown through your experiences, through your choices, through the stories you tell yourself, through the connections you form, through the compassion you carry, through the awareness you cultivate. Meaning is not fixed or eternal. It evolves, like a plant reaching towards sunlight, like a river carving its path, like consciousness gradually waking within the universe. As you lie here now, resting in the quiet cradle of the night. Consider this: whether or not the universe has a grand purpose, you have the ability to shape the meaning of your moments, to decide what matters, to nurture what feels true, to grow your life toward what feels warm. Meaning is not given, meaning is lived. In the next part of our journey, we will explore a profound companion to meaning, the nature of self as an illusion or a reality, and what it means to be a conscious being inside a vast and possibly purposeless universe. For now, allow this thought to settle gently within you. Purpose may be uncertain, but presence is real. Let the night hold you. Let meaning rest softly beside you, like a quiet friend who sits with you without needing to speak. There is a question that lingers softly after discussions of purpose, like a faint echo across the quiet landscape of the mind. What is the self? Is it real, or is it an illusion created by the brain? Tonight, as your breath slows and your body grows heavier with rest, we walk gently into this mystery, not to dissolve your sense of identity, but to understand it more deeply, to see it not as something fragile, but as something fluid, evolving, and beautifully intricate. Let's begin with something familiar. You feel like a single person, a continuous you stretching from childhood to this very moment, a stable center at the heart of your life. But the more we study the mind, the more this you begins to blur. Neuroscience shows that the brain is not one unified entity. It is a constellation of systems: emotional, rational, instinctive, perceptual, each with its own agenda, its own rhythm, its own voice. When you make a decision, it is not one self-choosing, but a negotiation among many neural processes. There is no single place in the brain where the self resides, no central command, no inner captain. Instead, the self is like a story, a narrative woven from memory, emotion, attention, and interpretation. But does that make the self an illusion? Not entirely. Consider this: a story may not be a physical object, but it is still real. It guides, it shapes, it transforms. The self might be the same kind of thing: a real illusion, a useful fiction, a flowing narrative created moment by moment. Some scientists call this the narrative self, the version of you that tells your life story, that explains your choices, that remembers your past. But beneath the narrative self, there is something quieter: the experiential self, the raw sense of presence, the simple feeling of I am here. This self has no story, no past or future. It is awareness itself, silent, immediate, alive, and deeper still. Some traditions suggest a third layer: the observer self, a witness behind all thoughts and sensations, unchanging, open, spacious. Science does not yet know how to describe this layer, but people across cultures feel it, in meditation, in silence, in awe, in loss, in love. A presence watching experience unfold. So which one is you? The narrator? The experiencer? The observer? Maybe the answer is all of them, or none of them completely. Maybe the self is not a thing, but a process, a dance between brain, body, memory, and awareness. This becomes even clearer when we examine how the self changes. You are not the same person you were 10 years ago, not the same beliefs, not the same fears, not the same preferences, not the same dreams. Even in a single day, your sense of self shifts subtly from morning clarity to afternoon tension to evening softness. If the self can change this easily, how solid can it really be? But the mystery grows deeper. The brain constantly rewrites memory. It reconstructs the past. It imagines the future. It blends truth with interpretation. Your self is stitched together from moments already gone and moments not yet lived. The continuity you feel is a masterpiece of the mind, a quiet magic trick that makes a flowing river feel like a still lake. Yet despite this, the self feels real because it is real, not as a fixed entity, but as a lived experience. Think of a wave. It has shape, it has motion, it has identity, but it is never the same water from one moment to the next. The self is like that, a shaped movement, a pattern held together by change itself. And this leads to a beautiful, gentle question. If the self is a process, can you choose the kind of self you become? The answer appears to be yes. Neuroplasticity shows the brain changes with experience. Thought patterns strengthen or fade. Habits carve new pathways. Attention shapes the structure of the mind. Your self is sculpted continuously, not just by life, but by the way you respond to life. If you cultivate kindness, you become a kinder self. If you cultivate patience, you become a calmer self. If you cultivate presence, you become a more conscious self. You are both the story and the storyteller. You are not trapped in a fixed identity. You are emerging, moment by moment, breath by breath. And then there is the softest mystery of all. If the self is constructed, who or what is doing the constructing? What is the you behind the thoughts? What is the silent awareness, watching the mind create its stories? Some philosophers argue that this observer is the only true self, a field of awareness untouched by memory or personality. Others say the observer is an illusion too, one more story nested inside others. But perhaps the truth is not binary. Perhaps awareness is the canvas, and the self is the painting. The canvas does not disappear when the painting changes. It remains constant, holding all possible forms. As you lie here tonight, resting in the quiet glow of your own awareness, you might sense that deep canvas, the quiet watcher, the spacious presence beneath every thought. It is not dramatic. It is not mystical. It is simply the part of you that notices, and in noticing, it gives shape to the self. In the next part of our journey, we will explore the final layer of this mystery. What happens to the self when consciousness changes state? In dreams, in deep sleep, in mystical experiences, and in the vast silence beyond waking life. For now, breathe gently. Let the self soften. Let identity loosen its grip. You are not a fixed thing. You are a flowing presence, carried gently through the night. There are places the mind travels that ordinary language cannot follow. Soft inner landscapes you visit every night when the world around you fades into shadow. Tonight, as your breath settles into its slow, natural rhythm, and your awareness begins to loosen from the edges of the day, we step into one of the most mysterious territories of consciousness. What happens to the self when consciousness changes state? Waking life feels stable. You move through the world with intention. You remember your name, your past, your goals. You feel continuous, solid, present. But the moment you drift into dreams, this continuity dissolves like mist. You can become someone else, be somewhere impossible, experience emotions without context, live entire lifetimes in minutes, or float through scenes that feel vivid yet strangely unanchored. When you dream, who is the you inside the dream? The narrative self disappears. The observer self shifts. The borders of identity blur. Dream consciousness is fluid, a shape-shifting mirror, reflecting fragments of memory, emotion, fear, desire, imagination, and yet you still experience. You still feel. You still observe. A self remains, but a different one, a more flexible, more symbolic self, untethered from physical reality. This leads to a simple, haunting question. If the self changes so dramatically in dreams, how real can the waking self be? But dreams are only one doorway. Let us step into another. Deep sleep. In deep, dreamless sleep, the sense of I disappears completely. No thoughts, no story, no observer watching the night. Consciousness folds inward into silence, and yet, when you wake, you say, "I slept peacefully." Who is the I that remembers the absence? If the self vanishes in deep sleep, but returns effortlessly, what does that say about its nature? Some traditions claim that in deep sleep, you touch the purest form of awareness, a presence without content, a light without shape, a space beyond the mind. Others argue that deep sleep is simply the shutting down of cognitive processes. But if it were truly nothingness, why does it feel restorative, like returning from a place of profound stillness? Perhaps the self is not a fixed identity, but a rhythm, appearing and disappearing, with the cycles of consciousness. Now, let us look at another altered state. Flow. Moments when you are so immersed in a task that the sense of self falls away. Time dissolves. Thought dissolves. Only presence remains. Artists, athletes, musicians, monks, all speak of this state, a no-self that feels more alive than the ordinary self. When the self dissolves, consciousness does not fade. It becomes clearer, less cluttered, more expansive. What does that say about the true nature of self? If losing the self increases awareness, is the self a limitation, a filter, a lens? But the deepest shifts of consciousness appear in states that humans have explored for thousands of years through meditation, prayer, trance, breathwork. In these states, people describe experiences that defy explanation, a feeling of merging with everything, a sense of timelessness, a quiet, luminous awareness without form, a dissolution of the boundary between self and world, a vast presence that feels familiar and infinite. Modern science can measure brainwave changes, but cannot explain the internal experiences themselves. When the sense of self collapses, what remains? Some describe it as peace, others as clarity, some as a presence that feels more real than waking identity. Perhaps the self is not the core of consciousness. Perhaps it is the surface, a mask, a role, a useful fiction that organizes experience, but is not the foundation of awareness. This becomes even more mysterious when we explore near-death experiences, moments when the brain is shutting down, yet people report vivid awareness, a sense of leaving the body, a panoramic view of life, a feeling of unity, a profound silence filled with meaning, a presence that feels unmistakably real. Science does not yet understand these reports, but they raise the question, is consciousness more resilient than the brain that hosts it? Does awareness depend entirely on neural activity, or is it something that appears through the brain, but is not limited by it? We do not have answers, only clues, like footprints on the shore of a dark ocean, but perhaps the most intimate doorway to understanding consciousness is the transition between waking and sleep, the moment you are in right now, the in-between, the hypnagogic state. Images flicker, sounds blend into thoughts, the self wavers, consciousness loosens, like a hand releasing a lantern into the night. In this state, reality becomes soft, memory drifts, identity floats, awareness moves like a tide, rising and receding, and yet you remain present, a different you, but still you, a quieter self, watching the mind paint its last colors, before slipping into the dark. If the self changes so easily, with dreams, with sleep, with meditation, with flow, with awe, then maybe the self is not what we think it is. Maybe the self is a doorway, through which consciousness looks at the world. Maybe the self is the tool, not the owner. Maybe the self is a shape carved by awareness, not the source of awareness itself. As you lie here tonight, drifting closer to the soft edges of sleep, Feel the self begin to loosen, not disappear, but open. Let identity become light. Let thought become quiet. Let awareness rest in its natural form, spacious, gentle, unconstructed. In the next part of our journey, we will explore an even deeper question. What is consciousness itself? Not the self, not the mind, but the very essence of experiencing. For now, breathe softly. Let the transitions of consciousness carry you. You are not falling asleep. You are returning to the wide, ancient ocean of awareness. There is a point in our journey where the questions become so vast, so delicate, that they feel less like puzzles and more like horizons, places you can move toward but never fully reach. Tonight, as the rhythm of your breath softens and consciousness begins its nightly descent, we turn toward one of these horizons. What is consciousness itself? Not the self, not the mind, but the pure essence of experiencing? You might think consciousness is obvious. After all, you're experiencing it right now. The feeling of being here, the awareness of breath, of thought, of sound, the quiet presence behind everything. But when we ask what consciousness is, the mystery deepens instantly. Let's begin with the simplest definition. Consciousness is the capacity to have experience, to feel, to know, to witness. It is the light by which the mind sees itself. Without consciousness, thoughts would not be known, emotions would not be felt, the world would be dark, not because light is absent, but because there is no one to perceive it. Consciousness is the most intimate aspect of your existence, and the most inexplicable. Science can tell us how the brain processes information, how neurons fire, how perception works. But the raw feeling of being aware, the inner glow of experience, cannot be measured or located. This is the hard problem of consciousness. How does matter produce mind? How does physical activity create subjective experience? No one knows. Not neuroscientists, not philosophers, not physicists. Some argue that consciousness emerges from complexity, that when a system becomes complicated enough, awareness appears, like heat emerging from friction. But others challenge this view. They point out that no matter how complex a system becomes, complexity alone does not explain why it feels like anything to be that system. Why does anything have an inner life at all? This leads to another possibility. Consciousness is fundamental, not something produced by the brain, but something woven into the fabric of the universe. A basic property, like mass or charge, something that exists everywhere, in different degrees. In this view, the brain does not create consciousness. It shapes it, focuses it, gives it form. Like a radio tuning into a broadcast. The broadcast exists whether or not the radio is on. The radio simply receives and organizes it. If consciousness is fundamental, then your awareness is not confined to your skull. It is an expression of something far larger, a local ripple in a vast ocean of awareness. This view is not proven, but neither is the idea that the brain produces consciousness. Both remain theories, standing on the shore of a mystery as wide as the cosmos. Another possibility is that consciousness arises from relationships, from the connections between things, not from the things themselves. Just as a melody emerges from the relationship between notes, consciousness might emerge from the relationship between processes, a dynamic dance, not a static object. If so, consciousness might be everywhere interaction occurs, in atoms, in cells, in ecosystems, in galaxies. This does not mean everything is conscious in the human sense, but everything might participate in the field of consciousness as tiny ripples or vast waves. And then there is the idea of non-local consciousness, the possibility that awareness is not limited by space or time. This idea arises not from mysticism, but from the strangeness of quantum mechanics. and from experiences that people report in meditation, dreams, deep flow, and near-death states. Moments when awareness feels boundless, spread out, merged with something larger. Moments when intuition arrives instantly, as if drawn from beyond the limits of the brain. Science cannot yet explain these experiences, but they hint that consciousness may not sit neatly inside our current theories. And then there is the quietest question of all. If consciousness is the essence of experience, why does it exist at all? Why is there something rather than nothing? A universe made entirely of unconscious processes would never know it exists. It would spin endlessly in silence. But your awareness, right now, listening to these words, breathing softly in the dark, experiencing presence, is proof that the universe does not merely exist. It knows it exists through you. Consciousness is the universe reflecting on itself, the cosmos becoming luminous from within, and yet, we still do not know what consciousness is. Is it a field? A process? A fundamental property? A pattern of information? A cosmic mirror? Perhaps consciousness is not a thing at all, but the capacity for things to appear. Perhaps consciousness is the empty space, in which all experiences arise, like stars emerging in the night sky. Thoughts come and go, sensations rise and fall, dreams unfold and dissolve, but awareness remains, silent, spacious, unchanging, like the sky behind every weather, like the canvas behind every painting. As you lie here, moving closer to the soft edges of sleep, you may notice this spacious awareness, not as a concept, not as an idea, but as a feeling, the quiet openness in which your thoughts drift. This awareness is not something you have, it is something you are, the deepest layer of your identity, the root of your existence. In the next part of our journey, we will explore a mystery intertwined with consciousness itself, the possibility that consciousness and the universe are not separate, that the world you experience may be shaped by the very awareness observing it. For now, breathe gently. Let thoughts drift. Let the day fall away. You are returning, slowly and softly, to the vast field of consciousness that holds every dream you will enter tonight. There is a quiet idea that has been drifting through cultures, philosophies, and sciences for centuries, sometimes whispered as poetry, sometimes debated as theory, sometimes felt in moments of deep stillness. What if consciousness and the universe are not separate? What if awareness does not merely observe reality, but participates in shaping it? Tonight, as your breath moves slowly and your thoughts begin to widen like ripples in a calm lake, we step gently into this idea, not with certainty, but with wonder. Let's begin with something simple. Observation is not passive. Even in ordinary life, what you pay attention to changes how the world feels. Focus brings clarity. Distraction blurs. Fear makes everything sharp. Calm makes everything soft. Two people can look at the same moment and live entirely different realities because their awareness shapes their experience. But what if this shaping goes deeper than perception and emotion? Quantum physics gives us an intriguing clue. At the smallest scales, particles do not have fixed properties until they are measured. Before observation, they exist as waves of possibility, multiple outcomes waiting to be chosen. Is consciousness needed for that choice? No one knows. Some interpretations say measurement alone is enough. Any interaction collapses the wave, but others quietly, cautious suggest that consciousness might play a role. That awareness might influence which version of reality becomes real. This idea is controversial, but it points toward a larger mystery. Does consciousness help reality take shape? Let's step away from physics and look closer to home. The human brain is constantly predicting, anticipating, imagining. Your expectations shape your actions. Your actions shape events. Your events shape the world. A thought becomes a choice. A choice becomes a path. A path becomes a life. Even if consciousness does not alter atoms, it alters futures. But perhaps there are subtler forms of participation. Psychologists speak of attentional influence, not mystical, but deeply real. When you focus on healing, the body responds. When you focus on fear, stress rises. When you focus on gratitude, the mind grows more resilient. Attention is a bridge between awareness and the physical world. But what if the bridge extends farther than we realize? Some researchers have explored whether intention, pure mental focus, can influence random systems. The results are small, not conclusive, but intriguing. Tiny deviations in random number generators. When large groups focus together, patterns emerging from noise, when intention is unified. Not proof, but possibility. A whisper, not a declaration. Let's widen the lens even more. In many contemplative traditions, Buddhist, Taoist, Sufi, Vedantic, practitioners describe a state of consciousness where the boundary between inner and outer dissolves. Not metaphorically, literally. The world feels like an extension of awareness, and awareness feels woven into the world. People report a sense that thoughts ripple outward, a sense that reality responds to inner stillness, a sense that intention aligns events, a sense that consciousness is not confined, but connected. Science cannot confirm or deny these experiences, but they are consistent across cultures, across centuries. Now, consider a strange, quiet truth. The universe is made of relationships, not things, but interactions. Particles interact, forces interact, information interacts, even space and time curve in response to matter. If consciousness is real, if awareness is a kind of process, why would it be exempt from this web of interaction? What if consciousness, like gravity or magnetism, has subtle effects? Not strong, not dramatic, but faint, like a whisper guiding probabilities. Instead of commands forcing outcomes, maybe consciousness is not a projector forcing reality to appear. Maybe it is a participant in a cosmic collaboration between matter and mind. And this leads to another, softer question. If consciousness influences reality, how much of your world is shaped? Not by what happens to you, but by how you meet what happens. Your inner life changes the meaning of events. Your interpretation changes their impact. Your presence changes their direction. In this sense, you and the universe co-create your experience. Not control, but participation. Not power, but relationship. Let's look at one more angle. The feeling of synchronicity. Moments when events align in ways that feel meaningful. Coincidences that seem too precise to be random. Thoughts that appear just before reality mirrors them. Science calls it pattern recognition, but the experience feels like something else. A conversation between your awareness and the unfolding world. Are these moments real? Or is consciousness simply excellent at spotting patterns? Perhaps both. Perhaps synchronicity is a meeting point between randomness and meaning, a moment when awareness highlights one thread of possibility and draws it into the center of attention. So what does all of this mean? Maybe this: consciousness may not create reality, but it guides the version of reality you live in. Awareness shapes interpretation. Interpretation shapes action. Action shapes outcome. And outcome shapes the world. A loop, a dialogue, a dance. As you lie here now, breathing slowly, drifting gently towards sleep, you can feel that dance, the way your inner world and the outer world touch each other. You are not separate from the universe you experience. You are a thread in its tapestry, a participant in its unfolding. Your awareness matters, not in a grand, cosmic sense, but in the intimate, immediate way. Your life changes when your consciousness softens, opens, and becomes present. In the next part of our journey, we will explore the final steps of this cosmic mystery, the nature of death, not as an end, but as a transformation of consciousness. For now, rest gently. Let your awareness settle like dust. On a quiet windowsill, the universe is unfolding, and you are unfolding with it. There are mysteries so intimate, so close to the center of human existence, that we spend much of our lives circling them, sometimes with fear, sometimes with curiosity, sometimes with quiet acceptance. Tonight, as your breath softens, and the night gathers gently around you like a dark, warm ocean, we approach one of the most ancient mysteries of all. What happens to consciousness when the body dies? This is not a question of fear, but of wonder, not an attempt to solve the unknowable, but to touch it gently, the way you might touch the surface of still water, without disturbing its depth. Let us begin with what we know. When the body dies, its biological functions cease. The heart stops. Breath fades. Electrical patterns in the brain diminish until they flatten into silence. From the outside, death appears as an ending. But from the inside, from the perspective of consciousness, the mystery remains. Does awareness vanish with the brain? Or does it transform? The way a wave returns to the ocean? No one can say with certainty, but we can follow the clues. The first clue comes from near-death experiences. Across cultures, across languages, across time, people report similar experiences when they come close to death. A sense of leaving the body, a feeling of floating or expanding, a review of life that feels instantaneous but complete, a presence of profound peace, a dissolution of fear, a sense of connection with something vast and gentle. These experiences do not prove anything, but they raise questions. How can vivid awareness arise when the brain is shutting down? Why are these experiences so consistent across humanity? Some neuroscientists argue that near-death visions are the brain's final hallucinations, but others point out that some people describe details in the room they could not have perceived physically. Another clue comes from dreamless deep sleep. In deep sleep, awareness falls away completely. No thoughts, no dreams, no self. And yet, something wakes up, something returns. A continuity of presence. If consciousness can exist without the sense of self, without memory, without identity, then perhaps death is not the end of awareness, but the end of the structures that shape awareness into you. Not annihilation, but transformation. Imagine a wave rising on the ocean. For a time, it has shape. It has identity. It has form. Then it dissolves. Not into nothing, but back into the water from which it came. The wave disappears, but the ocean remains. Perhaps consciousness is like that. A pattern, a form taken by a deeper field, a temporary shape made of awareness. When the body dies, the shape fades, but the awareness may return to whatever vastness it came from. This is not proven, but it is possible. Even physics leaves room for mystery. Energy does not vanish. Information does not disappear. Quantum fields do not die. The building blocks of consciousness, whatever they are, may also be conserved in ways we cannot yet measure. Another clue lies in the strange, fragile boundary between self and world. As we explored before, the self is not fixed, not permanent, not even necessary for consciousness. Meditators report moments when the sense of self dissolves, yet awareness remains pristine, clear, expansive. If the self can disappear, Without consciousness disappearing, then, perhaps death, is not the end of consciousness, just the end of the story consciousness tells. A story that begins at birth and ends at death, but takes place inside something larger. Some spiritual traditions describe death not as a fall into darkness, but as a return, a dissolving of boundaries, a rejoining with the source of awareness. Others describe it as transition, a movement from one form of experience to another. Science cannot confirm this, but science also cannot explain why there is something to experience in the first place. Consciousness itself remains more mysterious than death, and this leads to a softer question. What is it that fears death? The body, the brain, or the self? The observer, the silent awareness behind your thoughts, does not fear. It simply witnesses. Fear lives in the story, in memory, in imagination, in identity. When the self loosens, fear loosens with it. This is why people close to death often describe a surprising peace, a dissolving of fear, as the boundaries of the self soften, not panic, not terror, but stillness. We are not romanticizing death, we are honoring its mystery. Because the truth is this: you have already experienced tiny versions of death, thousands of times. Every night, when you enter deep sleep, the self disappears. Consciousness fades into silence. Control vanishes. Identity dissolves. And yet, you return. Death may be a deeper version of a process you already know intimately. Perhaps death is not darkness, but a falling away of everything that is not essential, leaving only that quiet presence that has been with you since your first breath, the awareness behind every moment, the watcher behind every thought, the sky behind the weather. As you lie here tonight, breathing softly, consider this. If consciousness is fundamental, if awareness is not created by the brain but shaped by it, then death may be not an end, but a release, not a collapse, but an opening, not a stop, but a return. In the next, final part of our journey, we will gently explore the last question. What is the purpose of consciousness itself? Why does the universe bother to awaken at all? For now, rest. Let this mystery cradle you, not with answers, but with peace. You are safe. You are held. You are part of an ancient story, far older than your body, and far deeper than your name. There is one final question waiting quietly at the edge of everything we've explored. A question more delicate than time, deeper than the self, and older than the universe itself. It is the question behind every mystery. Why does consciousness exist at all? Why does the universe awaken? Tonight, as your body rests in softness and your breath flows like a slow, gentle tide, we step into this last and most luminous question, not to find a final answer, because final answers don't exist, but to feel the wonder that rises when you look into the heart of reality and sense that something profound is looking back. Let's begin with the simplest truth. The universe could have been empty. It could have been a silent expanse of cold matter and blind forces, spinning endlessly without meaning or experience. And yet, here you are, a point of awareness, inside a cosmos of unimaginable scale. Why? Why should particles combine into atoms, atoms into molecules, molecules into cells, cells into beings, capable of feeling the sunrise and wondering about infinity? Science describes the mechanisms, evolution, emergence, complexity, but not the deeper question. Why does this chain lead to awareness? Why does the universe produce not only structure, but experience? Why should existence know that it exists? One possibility is that consciousness serves a purpose. That awareness helps the universe explore itself, evolve, adapt, unfold. Another possibility is that consciousness is not a product of the universe, but a fundamental part of it. That awareness is woven into reality, the way space and time are woven into gravity. In this view, the universe awakens, because awakening is its nature. Just as stars shine, consciousness knows. But the deepest possibility, the one that poets, mystics, and philosophers have whispered for centuries, is that consciousness and the universe are not two separate things. That consciousness is the universe. That awareness is the essence of existence itself. That everything you experience, every sound, every emotion, every thought, is the universe unfolding through the lens of your mind. This does not mean you are separate from the cosmos. It means the cosmos is expressing itself as you, not in a grandiose way, not in an egoic way, but softly, like a wave expressing the movement of the ocean. You are one expression, one pattern, one moment of awareness, in a vast field of consciousness that spans galaxies and atoms alike. If this is true, even as a metaphor, then the purpose of consciousness may not be something the universe has, but something the universe is. But let us step away from grand ideas and look at something more intimate. What do you feel when you are most alive? Not when you are accomplishing things, not when you are performing or striving, but when you are simply present, when you are watching the sky, listening to music, sitting with someone you love, breathing on a quiet night. In those moments, awareness feels right, natural, effortless, full, as though presence itself is a kind of purpose, as though meaning arises, not from achievement, but from being. Maybe consciousness exists, not to solve the universe, but to experience it, to witness it, to feel it. Maybe the purpose of awareness is awareness. But even this is not the end, because the universe does not awaken in one place only. It awakens in every living being, every creature that feels, every mind that wonders. And all these points of awareness are connected by the same fundamental mystery. The universe breathes through countless forms. Your consciousness is one breath, one note in an endless symphony. When your body dissolves, the symphony continues. When your self fades, awareness persists in new forms. The universe continues to awaken, through others, through space, through time, through whatever comes after. Your awareness is temporary, but consciousness itself may be eternal. You are a momentary window through which the universe sees itself, a passing shape made of stardust and memory. But the light shining through the window is ancient, older than galaxies, older than time, and that light is consciousness. So what is the purpose of consciousness? Perhaps there is no single answer. Perhaps consciousness is not a purpose, but a possibility for beauty, for love, for understanding, for creation, for connection, for wonder. Perhaps the universe awakens, because awakening allows it to know joy, to know itself, to know existence. As you lie here, letting these thoughts drift into the quiet chamber of your mind, allow yourself to feel something gentle and true. You are not a separate observer, looking at an indifferent universe. You are the universe, awakening in human form. For a little while, your purpose is not something you must find, it is something you embody. Every time you feel, every time you breathe, every time awareness shines softly through your experience. You are a moment of consciousness in an infinite field of being, and that is enough, more than enough, a miracle quietly happening. As this chapter and this entire journey comes to an end, let yourself drift into the vast, comforting darkness that holds all consciousness, all experience, all dreams. Rest now. The universe is awake within you, and you are awake within it. There is no separation, only awareness. only wonder, only the quiet unfolding of existence itself.